Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to be talking about pemmican. So pemmican is the world's first energy bar, and the natives up in Canada and North America first created this right around 5,000 years ago from what the experts say. And they used any kind of animal meat, and they primarily used buffalo, but I've heard of them using squirrel, fish, really any kind of meat that they can get their hands on. And they would dehydrate the meat and then add animal fat to the meat and make these little bars with them. They would take these bars and they would travel with it, and it was just basically like a quick meal for them. And if they had more time, they would forage for wild edibles and basically make a stew out of it. So that's what we're going to make today. So let's get to it. So what I have here is venison. I really wanted to go authentic as I could. So I grabbed some venison from the store, about 1 pound, and I grabbed some buffalo here. And we're going to actually use both of these. We're going to keep them separate and kind of see how they taste in comparison. So I know venison, I've had a lot of that. It has somewhat of a gamey flavor, and buffalo actually is really good. It's to me, I don't taste any gaminess at all. So can't wait to get this started. So what we're going to do first is I guess there's no real order to this, but I'm going to grind this fat, and we're going to render this down. And a lot of people say use suet because it's a more pure fat. I don't have any suet available, so I'm just using regular fat that you trim off of any of the subprimals. So we're going to grind this down today just so it renders down a little bit easier. If you don't have a grinder, that's okay. You can also just chop it up into real small pieces here. I'll show you. Just any kind of small pieces will work. I mean, that would be okay. And just to make it small enough to render down a little easier, that's all. You really don't want any huge chunks, so just chop it up, but I'm going to use my grinder. Get to use my organ cutting board today that I made. Well, we have our pot of minced fat, so we're going to render that down in a minute. And before we do that, what I want to do is flatten these out. I'll show you how to put these on the tray. I've seen a lot of people use dehydrators on YouTube. Or you can use the oven. I'm going to use my smoker just because I don't have time to wait around for however long a dehydrator is going to take to do this. Smoker should only take probably a couple hours, if that. We'll see. It's definitely not going to be as long as using a dehydrator, that's for sure. What my goal is to roll this out as thin as possible and get these put on these trays here, so they can dehydrate a little quicker. You could use your hand if you want to, or a cup or something if you don't have a rolling pin. But I want to use this so I can get a little bit more uniform pieces here. I'll try to go as thin as I can, just so that it cooks a lot quicker. I'll try that. No real science to it, just as thin as you can get it. What I'm going to attempt to do is cut these into little sections because I can't move the whole thing all at one time. Maybe like little squares. See if that'll work. Alright, that works. So if you're looking for one of these guys, I actually got this at US Foods. This is just like a bakery table scraper. Works pretty well. They actually have the metal meat scrapers. I probably should have gotten that one. I just wasn't sure if I was going to need that one or not. But this one works okay, and this is like $3, maybe $4. So if you're curious, that's where you can pick that up at, or you can just get these on Amazon. So you just want to scrape and try to get the whole thing on here, and then tip it backwards on your hand, and then just kind of spread it out. Really lightly. There we go. Perfect. Alright. That one's a little thick. It's probably going to take a little while. We'll see. So after this is done smoking, the goal is to be able to take this and break it, basically crumble it without any kind of rubberiness. You want it as dry as possible because we're going to be throwing this into the blender. Okay, here is our buffalo. Actually, I'm going to separate that in half, roll half at a time. That one doesn't like to cooperate very well. Alright, so we've got these on the rack. I'm going to go turn the smoker on and go preheat that. You can also, this isn't really traditional, but you can use some seasoning if you want to. I really like the Kinder's brand, so that's what I use a lot of when I'm doing stuff like this. When I'm doing more like cooking for steaks, I actually like to use the Traeger brand, so I use both of those. This is actually my all-time favorite. If you guys ever see this, this is fantastic. I highly recommend that one. And I believe you can pick these up at Costco. But what I was saying is you can season these, pre-season if you want to, or you can throw some seasoning in the blender. I think I might actually pre-season these first, just so I don't accidentally add too much. If you're going to be using this pemmican for like a soup base, then it makes it really nice having a seasoning for extra flavor. So, or if you just want to eat it as a snack instead of just tasting meat and lard, basically. So what I think I'm going to do is go for this one and toasted onion. I think these two would be fantastic for like a soup kind of a mix. So I think I'm going to season the buffalo here with the toasted onion. Obviously you only have to do one side because you're just going to blend it up anyway. I don't want to go too heavy, be overpowering. I think that's good. A little bit more. Alright. That's good there. And the Kinder's wood-fired garlic on the venison. Alright, that'll be perfect. Alright, let's go throw this on the smoker and render down that beef fat. Alright guys, that was not even 5 minutes. Look how quickly that already cooked down. You're going to want to scrape this on the bottom, otherwise it's going to get stuck. Turn this heat down a little bit. I'm going to try to add the rest. So we're going to Alright, so I got that all that fat separated, so it's all liquid now. I'm going to pour that back into our pot. And to strain all that, actually I just, you saw me dump the other pot back in there, but I had this cheesecloth over top, so I just wrapped it up real tight with one hand and then poured the fat and all the solids in on top of that cheesecloth and then just kind of wrung it out. But that's what I used. These are pretty cheap, they're like a couple bucks a pack, so. Alright guys, looks like our beef fat is done rendering. I had this actually at, I'd say low, medium low, and what you're after is you don't want to see any more bubbles coming up. Once those bubbles stop coming up, that means there's no more water in this fat, so that's what we're after to keep the pemmican from going rancid. So I'm going to take this off the heat, I'm going to strain it one final time, and then all we have to do is wait for the pemmican to dry out. Alright guys, got our venison and buffalo done off the smoker, and as you can see they're pretty crispy. This one I believe is kind of lost track, but this one should be the venison, and that's kind of what you're after, is that like brittle, just crispy critter type deal. So that's kind of what you want, and just break that up into small pieces in your blender. Mine does a pretty decent job of pulverizing stuff, so it shouldn't be an issue. So we're going to blend this guy up. I'm using the Ninja blender. If you guys don't have one of these are awesome. You guys should definitely invest in one. A lot cheaper than a Vitamix, and it's pretty comparable, I think. And we'll go to, let's go to puree. I think that's probably good. That's about 15-20 seconds. Okay. Oh yeah. Turn that into a nice powder. Okay, I'm going to put this in its own little bowl, and then I'm going to move on to the buffalo. Alright, that's what 1 pound of venison looks like. Pretty crazy. Alright. Now let's do the same thing with the buffalo. Okay, now the next step is to add the fat and mold them into bars. I think this is going to be perfect for what we're doing. It's a brownie, it's like a little brownie cutter thingy. You just put your mix inside of here and then let it harden, then pull that out, then you have perfect little you can pop that even. You've got perfect little squares. So we're going to try that out. Okay. This, I believe, was our buffalo. Let's try that. I think I'm going to grab a spoon. And we're just going to add this little by little. I'm not sure how much it's going to take. That's, well, it doesn't matter. It's 1/3 of a cup anyway, but. Okay. That one done. That's what that looks like. And now we have our venison. There we go, 1 pound of each. Let's go throw those in the refrigerator and wait for those to solidify, and we'll be good to go. Alright guys, I just got done with the pemmican. It's the next day. I took the pemmican bars out of that little mold that I had them in, and I wrapped them up in these wax paper pieces. And these, apparently, from what I read, will stay good anywhere from like 1 year to like 5 years. I even read, 10 years. So I definitely give this a shot. I would try it with beef, something a little bit less expensive. I think I paid, what was it, $10 a pound for the buffalo. The venison was like $5 or $6 a pound if you can find it in your local grocery store. I would try with beef and see how it turns out. If you have a dehydrator, I would try that. I put mine on the smoker, and it's got a really strong smoky taste when you take a bite just from the bar. And I felt kind of unhappy with how it tasted, but then actually what I did was I mixed in this can right here. It's got these dehydrated vegetables, and it's got a season mixed in there with it. And one of the servings was 1/4 of a cup, and so I took about 6 servings for 1/4 cup, and I put it in these little baggies. And all I did was I added this whole packet to half of one of these bouillon. I'm going to call them bouillon cubes, but they're the pemmican bars, and cooked that on the stove, and it actually turned out really, really good. So if you're into like backpacking or whatever, this would be an excellent, really easy way of making a quick meal. So yeah, if you guys, I hope you guys try this recipe. So it was really cool to be able to recreate these pemmican bars that have been made for the past few thousand years. So if you guys like this episode, please give me a thumbs up, give me a comment down below, and subscribe if you haven't already. Alright guys, I'll see you in the next episode.